Okay, folks, here we are at the workbench. We're doing an install today of a Blunami 2200 decoder, and it's getting a bit washed out there because it's all white, into an On30 440, which is going to run dead rail basically. So we're going to put a 300 milliamp hour battery in it, which should give us at least about 2 hours worth of running. We've been running another loco of the same size on this particular battery, which is a 450 milliamp hour, and I think we've had about, I'd say at least 10 hours of running out of this battery before, and it still hasn't needed charging. So either we've got a super duper battery here, or this thing doesn't take that much energy to keep going. So we're going to try this particular one on a 300 milliamp hour battery. These batteries are multi-cell, so they come with a charge port to plug in their own charger. And then I've soldered on a JST connector at the end here to allow us to connect up to the decoder. So I'll put the other end of this connector on the actual decoder itself. We'll go and have a look at the tender. There's not really much to do in the loco. The only thing I do have to do is these locos are all connected up by these two connectors here, and I believe one is the motor and lights and the other one is the pickup. I'm hoping the two connector one is the 2 gang one is the motor pickup, and the 4 gang is the motor drive and the front headlight, of which case then we only need to use that guy there, and we can disregard this one because we're not getting power off the track, we're getting power out of that battery. So let's put the loco to one side. I've got my trusty BNSF coffee cup here, so and it's full of piping hot coffee, so we're ready to go. Now, I had a bit of a brain fade, and I started doing this before I realised that I should be doing a recording of it. So I've already stripped the tender. I've taken out the circuit board that was in there. And this one was DCC, so it had one of these high quality Bachman decoders in it. So we put that to one side. That can be a souvenir. We've got to take some wiring off here. Here's our connector. It goes up to our rear headlight. So we'll take that off and reuse that. I've disconnected, so if we have a look here, maybe if I hit the zoom button, here we go. Now if I move to where we are, there we go, now we can see there. So right, left, they were the rear bogies in the tender, and that's where the power came in, and I believe this guy here will be the power off the loco's wheels that come in. Then we've got, not really sticking to NMRA color schemes, but we've got a what looks like a brown and red, and then yellow, and it looks like it could be orange. So we kind of got a bit of a standard going here. I reckon the brown and the red will end up being the rear headlight because it matches up with the brown and the orange that we've got here. And then I reckon this one and the yellow will be the will actually be the motor drive. So anyway, we'll trace those out and do a bit of exploration first to see what we've got, and then basically this board is going to be discarded. We don't need this board in there anymore because we're going to wire everything to directly to the decoder itself. So let's put that to one side. Now we can zoom back out. There we go. So here's our chassis. As I said, I'd already started before I thought about, hey, I should really be recording this. I started to pull this apart. So with our whoop, we want to go that way. So this is our Bachman tender chassis. The tender sat on the back like that. So I've undone the bolts. I've taken out one of the bogies already. I've trimmed back the wires that feed off the bogies. We don't need those. And I've also ground out some of the mountain posts that were in here that we're not going to need. It's got a fairly decent speaker baffle there. So I figured we could probably fit in there one of these Soundtracks 27mm mega bass speakers. I reckon that would fit in here just dandy. And we'll secure it in using probably a small amount of blue tack just to hold it in position. These locos don't get thrown around a lot, so they don't get put in a box and transported. They go in their own cradle, so they're always kept up vertical. So the last ones I've done for this chap, I've just used blue tack to secure the speaker in, and I reckon it'll be good to go with that. As I said, I've ground off the mountain posts that were in here, so that should give us a nice big area now to put the decoder and get the battery and everything in. The chap that owns these locos is very much a scratch builder, so he's going to build, if we need to, he's going to build a set of hungry boards on the back for the wood pile to go up in, and that'll be fine. As I said, we've got a rear light. There's the LED for it there, so we're just connecting that up with this little connector here. So we'll reuse that on this particular model. So yeah, so that's where we are at the moment. So I might even just put some music on so you don't have to listen to me yabbering all the time, and I might just get on with it. What do you reckon? See what happens. So what I might do is change this camera to
Okay, so we can see after that little musical interlude, we're still working here on the model. Now, as you can see, what I've done with all the wires that weren't required is I've folded them back and then put some heat shrink over them, so it didn't cut them right back, and then in a future time needed the wires and then had to buy a new harness to go in there. So what I generally do is just fold them back on themselves and put some heat shrink. So I've worked out the ones that I actually need to keep out for the connections. We've got our red and black there, which is going to go on the JST plug to plug in the battery. And then at the other end, you can see I've got the speaker wires and the other wires that weren't required, the other function wires. I've just put those in a piece of heat shrink as well. And then later on I can bend those back over the decoder, put a bit of tape around them, and they're safe and they're ready to be used if we need them in the future. So the speaker, as you can see down there, I actually didn't use blue tack to put it in. I used some adhesive. There's a plastic ring around the side of the edge of that speaker. So a couple of dabs of CA and a couple of spots, and as you can see, I'm pointing to it now, the speaker's glued in and it's now nice and solid. It's not going to go anywhere. The speaker has some vents on the side of it, so when the case goes over the top, it should make a nice resonant enclosure. Anyhow, that's all for now.
Okie dokes, folks, so we're back here now. We've got our ON30 loco here. It's 440 reassembled. We've got our 2200 Blunami decoder in the back of the tender here. We put in a 20, as we saw in the previous install, or the previous video. We've got a mega bass speaker in here, a 27mm, I think, round mega bass. It fitted perfectly into the Bachman aperture in there for the speakers. So let's plug her in and see if we get any sound. Okay, so we've got sound happening now. So if I fire up my mobile phone, we can see that we've got, let's put it over the side here. We've got our Blunami there. We haven't given it any name, so we'll just hit connect. Let it connect. Then we'll read all the data out of the Blunami. I'm using the Android app here on my mobile phone, and let's see what happens. So our horn's working well. Let's turn on our headlight. Headlight's working on the front. Now if I go to the back, it's working back there. Our bell's functioning, so the last thing to do now is to give it some motion. So if I swipe, it should actually be running on the rolling road here. And there we go. We got our chuff working. We'll put some load on it. We can hear the chuff get harder. When we bring it to a stop, we change direction. And off we go in the forward direction. Oh, we can't see that on our app here. Quite happy with the horn, how that came out, and our bell. So there's a battery on board using Blunami in an ON30 Bachman loco. So I'll shut that off. We'll bring our loco to a stop. We'll turn the generator off, and we'll disconnect from this this model. Whoops. by going here and hitting disconnect, and success. The chap did mention about a keep alive, and I said, well, why would you want to keep alive? You've got the biggest keep alive possible in here. This will keep it alive for about 20 hours, I think we worked out, from a 300 milliampere hour battery. So yeah, there's plenty of room in the tender up here that he can hide it. He's a prolific scratch builder, so he's got to weather this loco and then build some hungry boards and a big wooden load on the back, and that'll hide the battery inside there. And it's easy to connect if he wants to change the battery because it's gone flat. Just unplug it there with the JST power connector, and off he goes, put a new battery on there, and he's off to the races. So that's my first video for a Blunami install. So we're going to do another one in a minute, and another ON30 loco. This one's got a 21 pin decoder in there, and it's even easier to do. So stay tuned and you'll see that video. Catch you all on the flip side.
Now, if any of you have seen me at a train show, you'll always know that I always have a cup of coffee in my hand. If you'd like to keep that up and buy me a cup of coffee, you can click the QR code above and buy me a cup of coffee. Anyhow, keep them on the rails and we'll see you soon.